think it's really underestimated surrounding yourself with winners. You can't not be successful when you're around winning mentality. Like, I want to take it back to that period in which let's actually fast forward it, right? Because you've passed now. Let's look for the future. You've passed, you're getting to the next level. You've got their increments. Before you know it, you're on 6 figures. Then you're getting up to 200 plus, etc. That same scenario of self-sabotage that could kick in would all be down to self-image. Because imagine you go for a drawdown period and for whatever reason you hit more of a streak of losses than is normal, your drawdown limit. Let's say on average you go into -3 before you go into a lot of profit. Let's say that was your threshold. Imagine you going to -4. What is going to equip you in that moment? It won't be your understanding of a 3-touch entry or any other strategy. It won't be that. It will be that voice in your head there and there that goes, Brandon, did you really think you was going to do this? Did you really? It's all going to be, do you still see yourself as that 7-figure trader? Can you see yourself trading that account? And it's always going to be that visual, your self-esteem, how you talk to yourself in that moment, that will influence the next way you take that trade, whether it be emotional or logical. Hello guys and girls, and welcome back to another episode on the Inside the Mind podcast. Joined with me today is one of our students that has just passed his funding assessment. He is now a portfolio asset manager. I'm really looking forward to this podcast because he's going to be sharing the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows, his vision, his goals, his ambitions, just the whole 9 yards, essentially. Trading can be fine margins. You could literally be on the brink of losing your funded account. You could be on the brink of your account expiring. And this podcast is about those fine margins. And it's a true test of character. And I cannot wait for you to get the value out of this podcast. Mr. Brandon Simon, how are we? Thank you so much for jumping on. Again, congratulations again on becoming a portfolio asset manager.
Awesome, Mark. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate all the kind words and things like that. I'm doing absolutely phenomenal. And let me just say, I was able to pass like literally when it mattered most, like right at the end, as you said. Before
How many days was it in the end?
It was a week. It was a week. I think today would have been my last day on the...
It's crazy. So for those that don't know you, Brandon, right? So from the outside in, viewers watching, listening, give us just a couple of minutes of your journey. How long you've been trading? How long you've been in Falcon? Just that overall synopsis.
I've been trading now for pretty much about 3 years within Falcon, and then probably a good like eight months before Falcon.
Nice.
We started out in signal services and down that whole rabbit hole, which I don't recommend for anybody. And then just joined Falcon and like literally never looked back ever since.
That's insane. That's what a journey. Doesn't it feel like it? I'm sure all of those years feels like you've always been trading. It's hard to actually pinpoint and go. It doesn't feel like a drag is what I'm saying. You just always feel like, because when you're obsessed and you're in it, it just feels like a lifestyle. Do you resonate with that?
Oh, 100%. I mean, literally the time just flies by. I mean, if you were to have told me like, listen, you're going to be 3-4 years in, and like not a multi-millionaire at this point, I'd be like, what? Like, no, this is crazy. But no, I just joke about that in any event. I've always had the, it wasn't about right now. It's always been focused on that longer term vision, the goals that send much further than trading. But yeah, honestly, the time just flies by. As I told you earlier before we jumped on this podcast, I've taken like this weekend and this week off, and it just feels so weird, like actually not having looked over the markets this weekend and doing the morning and evening forecasting, like seeing if an alert's gone off in TradingView. But that time's honestly just flown by.
Oh, it goes so quick. And now that you've passed on the fund, right? So you're portfolio asset manager, you've made it happen. Talk to us about those emotions when it was a couple of weeks before. You mentioned to me about, having an acceptance of, well, look, listen, if it doesn't go right this time, there's another time. Because you've taken your time this whole year. You've not forced it. You've not rushed it. Very, very intentional. I'm sure there's been ups and downs. How did you feel as it got closer towards knowing that your account might expire?
I tell you what, so like within the last month or two before the account was going to expire, I would say there wasn't that many emotions present. Like I kind of just got into terms with the fact it's just all about asking good questions. It's like, okay, well, if this doesn't happen this time around, is the fund still going to be there? The answer was yes. Can I afford to pay for the funding assessment again? Yes. Have I learned good lessons and become a better trader through all of these experiences? And all the answers to all of those questions were yes. So it took a lot of pressure. Well, like if it doesn't happen this time around, not to say that second time around would take me 12 months, because I'm a much better trader, following my trading plan, low risk, high reward, risk mitigation, all of those things. So if I did have to reapply, I was like, I could still easily be funded at the end of this year, So I would say towards the end, the mindset and stuff was really, really good. A buddy of mine actually messaged me, I think it was about 2 weeks before the funding was about to expire. And he's like, how are the emotions and stuff going into like the final 2 weeks of the assessment? And my response to him, I've actually got the message right here. I was like, absolutely phenomenal. I need to make 2.5% and then I pass. I'm not bothered in the slightest to try and force the percentage or anything like that. If it happens this month or the end of the year, it's honestly so chilled. The lessons I've learned and who I've become was so worth it. I can easily be funded at the end of Q4. And again, what's the rush? It's insignificant in comparison to the goals and the bigger vision. And yeah, lo and behold, I was able to pull it off within that final week.
Oh, very well done. And what's powerful about that, I almost feel like it was the acceptance and the abundant thinking of funds not going anywhere. I know I can be funded again, almost released the pressure that you needed to actually pass in the first place.
Oh, definitely 100%. Because, and I had somebody actually message me on Discord the other day, and they're like, honestly, a couple of people actually sent me messages along the similar lines and was like, I'm also quite far into my funding assessment journey and like sitting on small percent of profit, etc. And I said to them, I was like, you're so lucky. I was like, I hear all of this and I'm like, great, you're 8-10 months in and like you still got like 11% to make at the 0.5% risk. I was like, I read all of that and I'm like, this is brilliant. I was like, first and foremost, you've literally proved to yourself that you haven't hit the drawdown limit, you can manage risk, mitigate your downside. I was like, that is phenomenal. I was like, even if you have to reapply, I was like, you've literally proven to yourself that you can stay in the game and manage risk. I was like, you're in a really, really good position. And
it's perspective, isn't it? It's all perspective. People have reached out similar to me and said things like, I've taken 20 trades, and I'm disappointed. And then I think something negative is going to follow with, I'm at break even. I'm like, phenomenal. That's amazing. That shows that you've still been able to stick to risk. Why the rush? So this is all a matter of perspective, seriously. And I feel like for yourself, your perspective on trading the long game has always been very, very clear with your vision, your goals. Honestly, I said this to you already, but I'm so happy for you and so proud of you that you stuck it all the way through, because as you can imagine, I've coached maybe not one-to-one, but had the privilege of coaching about 10,000 students now in nearly 6 years. You see common patterns in traders. You see their mindset. You see people say that I'm all in, right? They tell you they're all in and suddenly they're not all in 2 months later. I feel like you're someone who means exactly what they say. And when I found out that you passed and I saw it, I was honestly so thrilled for you, because literally call it by the middle of this next year, there's no reason why you're not trading 400, 500, maybe 600K. No, we're not going to put a pressure on a timeline, but the reality is it's there for you. It's there for you to take. All you have to do is mitigate your risk, stick to your plan, allow it to come to you, not force it, just how you done right towards the end of the wire. And I can't wait for you to tick off that, because that's when it's going to be truly life-changing, but such a sick milestone for you.
Honestly, man, thank you so much. I really appreciate all of those kind words. And 100%, it was just about gaining perspective with all of those things. And even just looking at it, like there is literally, I mean, I've kind of, done a lot of reflecting this week, and rightfully so. And literally within the next 12 months to be trading even $1 million, like that is very, very easy, very manageable. And yes, just because it took me so long to pass the funding assessment, that does not mean I'm going to take nearly as long to, reach the next levels and actually scale up on the account. I said to you earlier, I was like, there have been a lot of things that have happened, probably 7 out of the 12 months, that there was just so many things happening in the background, personal issues. And there was a lot of things that was just sort of prohibiting me to like trade optimally and just have my head in the game. And through all of that, through all of the ups, the downs, the highs and lows and everything, I was still right at the end when it mattered most. I was able to swing it about. And I made it happen. And I think it was end of May, I hit the profit target in the fund. At that point, my misunderstanding, I actually thought that I had fulfilled the trading days and things like that. And, I was celebrating. I was like, yeah, this is it. I was so happy. And obviously I reached out to the fund and like, listen, you have 5 trading days left. And there and then, as soon as I got that, I shifted my focus from what has been the primary focus since the start was, focusing on the process, focused on performance and things like that, to then shifting it to outcome. Self-sabotage, all of these different things came into play. Obviously, it was at a 0.25% risk at this stage, but it was my biggest losing streak, even post consistency of like -8% at a 0.25% risk. And, just at the end of June, like it's never nice going through all of that in the moment. And we had the meetup in July, like June, beginning of July. And the lads were like, so you're funded, how's that going, etc. And I'm like, I said to them, I was like, listen, let me be honest. I was like, I messed up. I was like, this is what's happened. I've self-sabotaged, etc. But and this is something I've trained myself to do whenever whenever I'm going through like hurdles and obstacles and like just a difficult time, I've trained myself to always say like, there's a lesson to be learned here. There's a reason I'm going through this, and just being self-aware and, actually getting these messages from the universe. And, I ASR'd everything at the end of June. And I said to the guys, I was like, I'm so glad that all of this has happened to me now, rather than scaling up, getting to like $1 million, reaching that's my financial threshold. And then, at that point, you've scaled up your lifestyle, you've moved overseas, you've got that penthouse that you've always wanted, the nice new car, your girlfriend's moved overseas with you, you're accustomed to that high lifestyle, different lifestyle, and then you self-sabotage, you get unfunded, and then like, could you imagine having to walk to your girlfriend or whatever and like look them in the eyes and be like, I fucked up, and like now we have to move back home, back in with our parents. I was like, I'm so grateful for everything that I've gone through right now, because at the end of the day, struggle, hardship, and emotional trauma, it builds your character. And provided you don't keep doing those same mistakes over and over again, they're actually lessons. And it's just made me a much better trader overall, a better person in general. It's given me a cool story to tell, a better character. And my trading, literally, this is the bamboo effect here, but I have made so much growth and progression in the last 4 months than I have within the last 5 years of my entire journey, of doing different things. So,
it's crazy, isn't it? People understand it logically, but sometimes you have to experience it for yourself to think, wow, I've learned more. Well, you feel like you've learned more in the last 4 months than you have in 4 years. The reality is all of that groundwork that you've done, you're just getting that reward in abundance in a very short, concentrated period of time. It's like money, right? You've gone from a whole year past a funded account, and then within 6 months, you could be at 500,000. And it's like that paradigm is like, what? I could go from making not that much money to now a withdrawal on a monthly basis can be 35K. It can be someone's yearly salary per month and then more. And it's like, wow, like that is what it is all about. And that's what I was always focused on very early on in my journey. And I like to push that across to all of the guys and girls, including yourself, because that is what it is. It's fine margins. You just have to stick at it long enough to break through, and eventually no one can take this away from you. I mean, the way that you view the markets, the way you do your processes, everything you've built in your character to this day, you're not just going to suddenly forget that tomorrow, because you've had strong repetition and conditioning work, both physical, mental, everything, process driven. It's there. You have the success formula, you have the success habits. Of course, you could improve and get better. We always could. But foundationally, you have everything there. And now it's just finer details to tweak, making sure that, right, if you go on a winning streak now, that you don't allow any self-sabotage to kick in, making sure that your self-image, your image of yourself is still correct, and there's not any default habits that slip back in, because trust me, it can happen to the best of us, which again, self-awareness has to come into play. On that note, I said about a statistic, and you couldn't make this up, about the amount of people that are funded and passed to the next stage have rewired. My question is for you, Brandon. Do you have Rewired?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
so we're keeping it going. How's your experience been from that? Because it's literally night and day. I mean, everything you just explained was all psychological. There was nothing technical in that last part of where you got to where you was. There was nothing technical there. That was a psychological battle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing that statistic just proves as a whole is mindset is so important. Like 90% psychology, 10% technicals. Because I mean, let's face it, right? Like if you have risk management in place, you're risking whatever it is, you're risking per position, but it's at like 1% low risk, etc. Your risk management is in place. You've got a strategy. You could have like a horrible strike rate of like say 40%, but you just capitalize on trades that have good risk reward, minimum 3-1 or 5-1, whatever, you will still be profitable. Every single one of us has got the system. We've got the strategy. We all have trading plans and things, but why is it that people still are not consistently profitable? And it's because of mindset, because you take a loss on this trade, and due to our attitudes and our beliefs around winning and losing and all these other different things and poor self-images and self-esteem, you are hesitant to take the next trade. And it's just this vicious cycle that continuously loops. I would say Rewired has been honestly a massive help. I've gone through it multiple times before, but I would say to anyone that does have Rewired, the biggest thing that you can do, the best and most important thing for you to do is don't learn it and study it like a parrot. I mean, I did it a couple of times. I'm guilty of this. I had notes and, understanding all these different things. That didn't help me. It was following all of the practical steps and doing that repeatedly. You said in there, being self-aware, step one. Step two was unwiring all of these things. And I would say that was quite a difficult one, because it's like a lot of things stem back from your childhood. And well, why am I this way? Why do I have like this feeling that I just always have to win, and like losing, you take it personally. That's so difficult. And, when things go well, you end up just messing it up and you self-sabotage. And like, what's the reason for all of this? And then as soon as you're self-aware enough, and then you go back through all of these things, you take a pen and paper and you start uncovering all of these things. It's like, okay, well, let's unwire all of this garbage that doesn't serve us. And it's like, no, hold on a minute. Like, I have been working hard. I show up every single day, every morning. I don't hit the snooze button. I focus on all areas of my life. Like, I deserve this. I deserve to be here. And you start installing all of those good self-images.
Exactly.
And lo and behold, it's no surprise. And I think that goes to touch on, like, with the whole bamboo effect, right? There's two things with that. So over the past 4 months, a buddy of mine who also has Rewired and is in the Falcon community, we'd been watching Rewired together. And it was so interesting. Literally, it took us the entire quarter to get through just the first 7 modules. But we would pause, we would have conversations. He'd have a different sort of outlook and understanding of something, and so too would I. And we'd debate things back and forth. And he was also saying, he was like, literally, we have both seen the most amount of growth and progression in the last 4 months than we have in the last 5 years. And that was one thing. And the second thing to that was the importance of just surrounding yourself with winners, because we were jumping on a call every single day, and that energy, and then like weekly accountability calls, and surrounding yourself with winners, like that's just played such a massive role in my journey. I would say those are probably two of the most important things.
I think it's really underestimated, surrounding yourself with winners. You can't not be successful when you're around winning mentality. Like, I want to take it back to that period of which that let's actually fast forward it, right? Because you've passed now. Let's look for the future. You've passed, you're getting to the next level. You've got their increments. Before you know it, you're on 6 figures. Then you're getting up to 200 plus, etc. That same scenario of self-sabotage that could kick in would all be down to self-image. Because imagine you go for a drawdown period, and for whatever reason, you hit more of a streak of losses than is normal, your drawdown limit. Let's say on average, you go into -3 before you go into a lot of profit. Let's say that was your threshold. Imagine you go into -4. What is going to equip you in that moment? It won't be your understanding of a 3-touch entry or any other strategy. It won't be that. It will be that voice in your head there and there that goes, Brandon, did you really think you was going to do this? Did you really? It's all going to be, do you still see yourself as that 7-figure trader? Can you see yourself trading that account? And it's always going to be that visual, your self-esteem, how you talk to yourself in that moment, that will influence the next way you take that trade, whether it be emotional or logical. So for us to walk around and think that we can ignore psychology for a bit longer until we get there, it's the big elephant in the room that we're not addressing. I understand why people don't address it, because it's deep. For you to sit there and go, look in the mirror and go, right, this is why the way that I am. Maybe there's a bit of trauma there. Maybe there's part of your childhood that you don't really even want to think about, that maybe it wasn't a good experience. But by you not addressing that and realizing that you have a really scatty, unstable emotional response, you're never going to progress. It doesn't matter what technicals you're still going to revert back to that loop of something maybe you've not dealt with. So it's just so interesting to me as to why we push it every single day, every single week. If you're not about your business and you're not over the top, you're not obsessed, and you're not making sure that all of these things, and you haven't got your house in order, it will collapse. It will. And you don't want it collapsing at 500K, trust me.
No, it just goes back to that story that I said down the line when you got people depending on you, you've scaled up your lifestyle. I think if you're not emotionally strong and you haven't dealt with enough, you haven't gone through enough struggle and hardship, and you haven't built a strong enough mindset, I think having to bounce back from something like that, where you and your missus have to move back in with
Exactly.
your parents, you can't pay the bills, etc. To bounce back from that, it's mindset. It's not anything else. I mean, you can know what foods to eat for breakfast, or the fact that you need to fast or have 3 coffees a day. None of that stuff is going to help you apart from mindset. And we can often relate this back to sports. All these players that play in like Premier League, and that they're all incredible, well skilled soccer players. They all deserve to be there. But have you noticed, especially among the older players versus the younger players, why is the older ones, they're always able to perform in the moments that they need to most? Cristiano Ronaldo goes up to take a penalty, or score in the like very, very last minute of the game, and it's all down to him. Boom, he makes it happen. He pulls through. Exactly. Someone that's younger, hasn't got the experience, hasn't gone through enough of these things, hasn't built a strong mindset, has his psychology in order, and can actually calm his thoughts and his physiology in the moment when he needs it most.
And that is a great example. that is a great example of doing the most simple thing in the right moment under pressure. Champions League final, 90th minute, it's 1-1, and you're taking the penalty. This is not a technical skill to take a penalty. It's one of the most easiest things. Yet under that immense amount of pressure, the whole world is on your shoulders. There's now the embarrassment of, what if I miss? Oh, now I failed there's so many emotions involved. So we can link that all the way through, because it's just a simple kick it in the net. And that's the great thing about, as a big football fan, is that I'm always relating to sports and looking at that. What's the difference between the great players? They just know how to consistently make good decisions in the right moments. If you look at a player like, for example, without digressing, Luis Suarez, right? Why was he so good? He's one that wouldn't be spoken about as the most obvious Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, right? Which I'm a big fan of both. Suarez, consistently, look at his figures, consistently makes good decisions in the right moments, where you'll have people just as talented from a skill set point of view that can do the things that he can do, but they don't make the same decisions. So they don't hit the same numbers. Relate that back to trading. You could be both skilled and be able to read the charts the same way, but if you can't consistently manage or regulate your emotions in the right moment to make the right decision, how are you going to trade 7 figures? And you'll be like, yeah, but I know everything that he knows or she knows. I've got that skill set. I understand exactly what they're doing. Why is it that I'm not consistently extracting profits from the market? Is because you fundamentally don't know how to regulate your emotions in the moment when you need it the most. And you've not unwired any of that crap that is blocking you to be able to make a calm, decisive, good decision consistently enough. And that's trading.
There we go. So hence the importance of working on your mindset, your psychology. And the beautiful thing about it is this helps you in all areas of your life. Like if I decide I'm going to start running, like, I don't know, I'm going to run a marathon or something, and I need to run like 10Ks a week or whatever. I mean, if my mindset, and I'm not disciplined and I don't have a strong mindset, man, I'm getting halfway up that hill and I'll be like, fuck this, I'm done,
Exactly.
But it's a mindset of like, no, hold on, just keep on running, keep on pushing. Because physically you can do it, but it's your mindset that stops you. I think people often shy away from discomfort and struggle and hardship. And I embrace it. I was like, this is necessary. You need to go through these things, because you build such a thick skin and such a strong character on the other side of it. It's so important.
That's how you know you're on the right track. So when someone says to me, look, Mark, I'm going through this struggle, I'm really frustrated, I'm like, good. In a really weird, strange way, you're exactly where you need to be, because this is a way for you to realize what you don't know. Imagine you went on a fluke invincibility win streak, which I have done. It's so dangerous. Yes, the emotions are amazing and you feel like you've conquered the world. Your ego at this point is, I've cracked the market. I know everything, right? Someone trying to tell you that you've done something wrong, I don't want to listen to it. I'm the king. That's how you see yourself. And then the market just humbles you, and one candle will just literally destroy you. A bit of slippage will then just suddenly punch you to the ground, right? So you realize that it's so crucial that your mindset is in the right place and you're calm, which is why I always say, listen, money just magnifies who you are. Relax with it, right? Don't just splash out straight away. Incrementally scale up your life. These are things that I've done, and I'm not here to say and preach that this is the only way that you can do it. Listen, if you want to start making 20, 30K and you want to go buy that car, it's not my position to judge to do that. But if you're telling me Mark, I'm serious about building generational wealth, and I want to make sure I've got passive income. I want to build a property portfolio. I want to build an empire. I want to take care of my family. Well, then you need to pay attention to these things. And you can't just be reckless about it. You have to have things in place. Doesn't mean don't enjoy yourself. I enjoy myself. I love all the finer things, but I just prioritize the other things first. And then I let those things pay me to enjoy the luxuries. And that's what I'm really excited about. The next 2 to 3 years, Brandon, seriously, where the community is going, the heights that they will see, including yourself, is just going to be insane. And it's going to be all down to the good foundations that were built years ago, the ones that stuck around. I saw an old picture recently, and I was speaking to Serhat about this, right? Because Serhat recently passed, and he's a portfolio asset manager. So big shout out to Serhat again. So when I met him at the meetup in London, he spoke about this, and he said, I want to be a full-time trader. And he put it out there. And this was the first meetup he's ever been to. And it's so interesting looking at the picture that he's one of the only people that are still here. You cannot make this shit up. It's all about mentality. It's all about mindset. Someone with the same resources, it's all the way that they view it. It's how do they respond to, oh, but I've been doing this for a year and a half and I've not seen success yet. Where's the ownership? What have you actually done in a year and a half? You could have just fucked around for a year and a half. Like, how do I know? You have to be honest with yourself and go, right, for a year and a half, what did I do? If I was to look, if there was like a documentary watching me for the last year and a half, how serious did I actually take it? When myself and the coaches gave advice that, right, do this, dedicate this time to do this. Like, did you actually go and do it? Or are you just looking at the date of when you technically started trading and then gone, I've been doing this for a year and a half? Yeah, but you might have been operating at 30%. What are you expecting exactly?
Yeah, 100%. You know what? Something that's always just helped me is like having this mindset that firstly, the time's going to go by anyway. So like I'd much rather struggle going through all of this than having the pain down the line of wishing that I had done it. It was so interesting, man. A couple of months ago, him and a friend of mine, we started trading around the same time, 3.5, 4 years ago, whatever. We both started out in signals and doing all of these different things. And then, I was like, listen, if all of these other guys can like make money and do it for themselves, like I can do it, and that's when I started like looking at a couple of different courses and things like that. And I was like, oh, listen, I found this course, do you want to come? Let's go do it together. No, this always came up with excuses and bullshit. So anyways, I went and did it. Obviously, like it wasn't meant for me. I went to a couple of different courses, and 3.5 years later goes by. He messages me a couple of months ago and he's like, oh, hey man, are you still trading? How's it going? Like, I'm still struggling with the stuff, laughing face emojis. I was like, man, this is so interesting. I was like, if only you had just kept on trying, kept on persisting. I was like, here I am going through a funding assessment, about to become a portfolio asset manager. Things are going really well. The future is looking good. And you're like, yeah, like he asked me, he was like, do you sell signals? Like the mentality in that.
Seriously.
I was like, come on. Like 3.5 years later, I'm about to be a portfolio asset manager. And you're like, I'm struggling with this. Do you sell signals? Like, we both started at the exact same time. One progressed. I think, maybe went backwards.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Seriously, it's crazy how that is. Someone will use the same resources differently, and some people they like the idea of being a successful trader, but they don't do what is required and what it takes. That's why even now I understand how easy it is. Listen, I've said this times, and sometimes this goes over people's heads. Deception isn't obvious. So the fact that that you can deceive yourself and self-sabotage without even knowing, it is too arrogant to think that you're not doing it. So I use that bit of fear to actually serve me. So then I'm ultra aware and observing of my surroundings and auditing my processes to mitigate against any of that. I understand as a human, I could make errors. I make errors all year long. I don't make a lot of them, but I'm a human. There's human error. I might make a mistake in an entry. I might mismanage something. I might even make an emotional mistake. It would just be very tiny, and that's it. And that's not detrimental towards my performance or my growth, etc. But I'm aware enough to realize that there is zero chance to be perfect. I'm not going to try and aim for perfection because that would actually give me negative results. But as long as I can do enough around me to always be aware of what I'm doing and be able to track my mental state, just everything all together, I give myself the best possible chance to never go into self-sabotage. And then you have good people around you in the mix, which is why I say the thing that you're missing is not the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself so you rub off on good energy. That's a given. The bigger reason when you scale up why you have good people around you is because if they're good people and they're switched on, they will notice very quickly if you're not being yourself. So they become your insurance. They'll be like, oh, hold on a minute. I'll be like, Brandon, what the fuck's going on? Like, you're not this. And I would be able to notice it in a day or two. So imagine you didn't have that and you went through 6 months of deception that you didn't even know that you was doing, to then go back and go, man, I fucked up. When you could have just had one conversation with good people around you, good network, good circle to go, Brandon, what's going on? You're not the same. And you could be like, right, there's actually a logical reason for this. And then you have your brothers and sisters around you that are there to be able to lean on in the right way. So it's just so interesting how the things that are the most value, this industry values it the least.
Yes. Yeah, everyone kind of just wants to make money, go their own way, trade on the beach, do their thing. And it's like, it's just such a misconstrued image of what trading actually is. So I think it's very toxic, to say the least. But yeah, it's one of those things. But even in some of the things that you were mentioning over there, it's just having that high level of self-awareness. Like when I was chatting with my buddies and like, saying all that I went through in June and like the self-sabotage and stuff like that, they all said to me, and they were like, dude, really well done. Because like most people will look back 6 months down the line, like you've realized this in the moment and like realizing that you're sabotaging and these kinds of things. And obviously I looked over all the trades, routines, mindset, all those things for the month of June, extracted all of the lessons. And I said to them, I was like, okay, well, June is the past. There's nothing I can do about it. The past is gone. It's forgotten. There's no point even worrying about it. The future is also not promised. Don't worry about the fact you have to make up 8% now. I was like, what can I do right now in this moment? And it was literally sticking to my trading plan, making good decisions every single day in trading and out of trading, focusing on performance, and just also like trade substitution. Can I substitute this trade for a better trade that is potentially shaping up in a day or two? And can I deploy that discipline and that patience, and not worrying about the outcome? And literally by just focusing on what I could do right there and then in that moment, lo and behold, I was able to turn the ship around, And again, it was mindset that came through at the end. I was like, I've got this to make up the percentage. It's easy. I can easily do this. And yeah, like I said, it gave me a cool story to tell because I did make it in the end.
That's so sick. That's so sick. So one thing I'm really curious now for you, Brandon, is that you've ticked off this goal. It's a solid milestone. I know you're a very ambitious guy, so this is just literally a stepping stone from where you're going to be in the future. Talk to us about your goals and ambitions. I mean, what does it look like for you from now to the end of this year? And what does it look like for you, let's say, forecast end of 2023? Where do you see yourself?
From now until the end of the year, including, I would say, towards the end of 2023, it's pretty much just all about myself. It's personal growth, personal development, focusing on my health and physical well-being, as well as just being in the best mental state to perform as a successful trader. So, doing Rewired is obviously still a few things I still need to work on and things like that. And then I would say also next year, it's about upskilling myself because, it does get to a point within your trading where you don't always have to be doing something. And that's the beauty actually of the Falcon strategy is, post consistency and at scale, it's predicated upon freedom. So next year, in terms of upskilling myself, physical health and well-being and all of these kinds of things, I want to study and become a certified personal trainer and nutritionist. This is purely just for myself to better understand how I can exercise more efficiently, optimize muscle growth, lose fat. I can understand nutrition a lot better, counting calories, understand what foods work well for my body, what doesn't. And who knows, maybe at a later stage, it can always spring into like a personal training app and nutritionist app, but that's still down the line. So that's probably the goals for next year. I'm just mainly focused on scaling up and all the profits that I generate, putting that into my own personal trading account. And then I would say things really start to pop off in 2024. Again, we're speaking about it just now, doing things in a sustainable, scalable way. It's the most important thing. And so 2024, I want to move to Dubai, get myself a nice apartment there. And that's also where I will set up all of my corporations and all of my companies, you know, being tax-free. Dubai is clean, it's safe. It's literally geographically located right in the middle of the world. So it makes travel and stuff a lot easier. And then, yeah, just employing a couple of key crucial staff members to some of the other businesses that I want to start up. Already got my eyes on some properties. I know exactly in which areas I'm going to be buying properties for my property portfolio, which I've already got a name figured out for the company and all of that. All going well, you know, we'll have over $1 billion property portfolio in the far future. And yeah, pretty much just, you know, scaling it up from there, acquiring a couple of properties. I want to buy 2 in Cape Town, buy a penthouse in Dubai, 1 in Australia on the Gold Coast, and then a nice villa in Bali. And then, you know, rent those properties out on Airbnb and then start getting into commercial properties and stuff. And there's also a couple of other businesses which I want to start up. And essentially the way I've structured my company, hence why, you know, going to Dubai, setting up all the corporations and stuff there, obviously you need to get good lawyers and accountants that side that advise me on how best to set up the structures and the financial structure of my companies. But essentially my trading company, Willow Investments and Asset Management, being in the center, and essentially all of the other companies I own will be underneath its umbrella company. And all of the money that I make from trading and private investors, the fund, the virtual trading floor, personal capital will all flow out of Willow Investments into other companies. And then, you know, for growth and expansion opportunities, and then taking all of those profits, putting them back into Willow, trading that, essentially just multiplying my money. And within Willow, there'll be 3 different portfolios and financial asset divisions, so to speak, where there'll be investments, normal like day-to-day trading, as well as like longer term trades. And yeah, pretty much just from there, continuously scaling up and just doing a bit of traveling and travel the world. And yeah, ultimately before I die, I want to at least have traveled to about 100 countries. And then also within the future, I'll be starting up the Willow Foundation, which will particularly help young boys who lack the mentorship and the guidance, and just really giving them an opportunity to make something of themselves, as well as abused women in particular as well. So again, these are all plans for the future, but yeah, that's just a glimpse into what I have for the future. Obviously, there's many other businesses and a couple of brand deals and other companies that I want to start up with, but property is going to be the main one for sure. And you know, touching on that, the most important goal I would say also for next year is just improving my financial knowledge, because having such a large corporation, I need to understand money. I need to understand how to move it around, how to leverage the banking systems,
Exactly.
tax, all of these things. And, you know, you just end up creating an empire and an endless flow of currency, essentially, between all the different companies.
Amazing. Clarity is king, right? And it's clear that you've got clarity, specificity across the board. So we paint the picture. You've got $1 billion under management of your property, 7-8 figure trader, and then you're in Dubai. You don't need to sell me on Dubai, by the way. So if your goal was to sell me on Dubai, I'm already sold, man. So I'm already there as well. So everything's set up there. So that's going to be epic. The foundations are amazing, right? Giving back and helping. I think that is incredible. All of that and all the corporations and all the companies, and you'll still have time to be Falcon's personal trainer. So everyone's going to be shredded. So we appreciate that in advance. But that's amazing. I love the specificness and the clarity, and that's how goals are achieved, right? When you're clear and you think big, because most people are not thinking big enough, right? And hopefully, just from what you said, that has stretched people's paradigm. You're going to take this shit seriously. You have to start to think bigger. Your goal should be scary. You shouldn't know how everything's going to work out, right? When you're thinking about this thing, you don't need to know how. You need to know the why. Again, just going back to Rewired, focus on the why. The how figures itself out. If you know why you're doing what you're doing, you will find a way. The how always comes in after it, and that's the beautiful thing about it. I'm curious, with you've got these goals, these ambitions, of course, your experience in the community. We spoke about perspectives. It's always different. I'm curious from your perspective. I mean, even when people were congratulating you, I'm sure you're fully aware. I mean, this community is something truly special. We cheer for each other, we clap for each other, we're there for each other. But it's one thing doing that and obviously experiencing this milestone. How did you feel with everybody congratulating you on passing and becoming a portfolio asset manager, and just your overall experience in the community?
Let me tell you, man, firstly, with everyone congratulating me, I kid you not, I probably got in total about 100 and 50 messages of congratulations between people that have me on WhatsApp, private messages in Discord, and like all the comments and stuff. And, you know, I've always been someone that's like just always worked in the shadows, etc. And so achieving this goal and then like having everyone congratulate you and things like that was it was really, really nice. And so thank you to everyone that took the time and, you know, congratulated me and stuff. It really meant a lot. And yeah, overall, I would say like with the community and where it's headed and things like that, I think there's some big, exciting things. I think most people don't understand the true vision of where the community is headed and where it's going, which is perfectly okay because, you know, so long as you yourself know the vision and where this project is going, that's the most important thing, you know. And what you're saying just now, Russ has this perfect quote. You know, I was going to bring him up in this podcast.
Exactly. We got 99.9% of the way through, and Russ found his way in, which I'm pleased about. Hit us with
it. So Russ has this thing where he was like, focus on the why. He said, what did he say? He said, forget the how, fuck the when, and focus on the why.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing. Focus on the why you're doing it. Everything else will fall into place. But yeah, in terms of where the community is going and things like that, I am very, very excited with the virtual trading floor. Seems like HQ is probably also going to be in Dubai. So, you know, that when I did set Dubai as a place that I want to live, I was like, you know, Falcon HQ and the trading floor is also going to be there. So I was like, that's just a plus. Yeah, honestly, man, in terms of the community and stuff, and just like advice that I would give to people in general is just, you know, as I said earlier in this podcast, is that the time is going to go by anyway. So do you want to, 10 years from now, regret the fact that you didn't persist and, you know, you didn't achieve your goals, or just, you know, suck it up, toughen up, and just keep on persisting? And I say, so long as you're doing the right things consistently, like explain to me how this cannot happen for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can this not be a success? It's impossible. You're not going to go backwards by doing the right thing every single day consistently. So like, just keep at it, keep persisting. And yeah, I'm just very, very excited for the future of the community and for everyone else.
Seriously, such wise words. And thank you so much, Brandon. Thank you so much for taking the time to jump on this podcast, share your ups and downs, the highs and lows, the things that you went through, how you overcame them, so much practical advice. I genuinely cannot wait for this podcast to come out. You're a true example, a pillar of the community that has just gone above and beyond. So throughout all of this, just my appreciation to you and for what you've done is that not only have you progressed and hit this milestone, you've carried people along with you. You've inspired people along with you. You've always been there to help no matter what you're going through. And that is a true test of your character and who you are as a human being. So thank you for that. And I can't wait for you to tick off some of these bigger goals. I'll be right there with you.
No, honestly, Mark, thank you so much. I really appreciate all of the kind words. And, you know, just before we wrap up this podcast, you know, one thing that I realized that, you know, when I first joined Falcon, and that, you know, you're genuine and you genuinely want people, you want to see people to succeed, and you're not in this just as a business and a form of money and income, is I was laughing about this when I was thinking about this the other day, but, you know, obviously we have the Sunday market breakdowns and stuff, and once a month there's the Monday live webinar. And so, you know, I just joined the community. I was like, oh, okay, cool. No Sunday market breakdown this Sunday, whatever. And True's Bob, like, someone we had stack and whatever. And, you know, get a message in read only at like 7 o'clock on a Sunday night. Hey, everyone, here's what I'm looking at for the week ahead, just to give you a quick run through before the Monday live. And I remember I got this message and I was like, wow. I was like, you know, most people would have been like, sweet, you know, like, babe, listen, day off, you know, we're hitting like a road trip for the day or something. And nope, still there you were, Sunday night, filming this thing, putting it out into the community. And I just thought like that was just very, very genuine. And like, you can see with all of the content that you put out, you're disciplined, you're consistent. If everyone actually pays attention to the timestamps on the Sunday market breakdowns, they've actually been getting earlier, by the way, in the mornings. And just the midweek trade recaps that always come out, you know, when they need to and stuff like that. So honestly, man, thank you so much. And just also thank you for, you know, giving people the ability and sort of changing the way that people think, because I think that's arguably one of the biggest gifts that you can give someone. You know, it's not money, it's not all of these things, but when you can actually really help someone and change the way that they think, oh man, that's genuinely the most powerful thing. Because once they do that, they open up the doors to a whole entirely new reality.
And I generally didn't put Brandon up to this. Thank you so much. Honestly, I really appreciate that. The acknowledgement means a lot to me. And this project is incredible. This is my life. This is not just even a project. Almost feels like diluting it. It's literally Falcon's my life. It's a mentality, and I will not stop until we see as many successful trade. And just beyond that, there is no stopping, because it's a like-minded global network of people, of lifelong friendship. So this is ongoing. Like, I'm never going to stop trading, never stop investing. So I honestly, I can't wait to see where we are in even just a few years from now, let alone 10, 20. It's going to be insane. So thank you for the kind words. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And hopefully we can jump on a podcast again in the future, maybe in next year, this time or so. It'll be awesome.
Round 2 is going to be epic. I'm telling you. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening, eh?
Have a great one, brother.